Hey, hey, y'all, and welcome back to the Audacity Podcast, the podcast that unceremoniously took a break when we ain't mean to, because
Listen,
life,
life be life, man. And one
from
thing we're gonna do is give ourselves the same grace we extend to others.
look, and we gonna come back like we ain't never left, like the
Hmm.
audacity of some of these people who up here got text messages telling everybody's business and the war plans for the world. If they
With
feel like
emojis.
Look, if they feel like they can do it and it's fine on an unsecured network, an app that ain't even theirs, we can take a break and then come back.
And
But
we
hello,
can.
y'all. Hello, y'all. I am one of your co-hosts, who is back and feeling creative again. I am Julian of Julian Creates, and who am I talking with today? And you went mute.
This is what I get for touching stuff over here. Accidentally muting myself. This, listen, I'm like a kid who you gotta be like, hey, don't touch.
Right.
Okay. And we're gonna keep that in as part of the recording because for what? Welcome to the chaos. This is Aaronica from Aaronica Be Cole Studio. And like my man Julian said, like I too am feeling inspired. I'm feeling really excited. Um it's funny because like we took some unscheduled time off, but now I also do have some more scheduled time off, just kind of like from working and everything like that. And I'm like, wow, I have a little bit more brain freedom. Not
Mhm.
gonna lie, I miss teaching already, but like I'm off for like I've been off this week for the most part, and I'm off next week, and then I had to on spring break. So, your girl's taking a little breaky break, but that's what we need, right? Everybody was talking about this soft living, but then we were out here busting our behinds. And when I tell you that Delulu is my Salulu for my soft living for the next how many years,
And I did not so let's give a understanding of all that has gone on. So
Mhm.
you did, of course, Expo,
Yes.
and you had some travel there. Was
Hmm.
there some Argo baby travel or some working in there too, maybe? Or you went
Um,
from one place to another place?
No, not with Ergo this year so far. In fact, I was supposed to be, and of course, this is current events, right? But I was supposed to be in Toronto
Hmm.
when I came back from my cruise for spring break, but I couldn't make that work. But of course, I'm sad about not being able to make it to Toronto this go round because I love Canada.
Hmm.
Um, and
Oh,
I really
Canada.
love Toronto is filled with beauty. Like beautiful people, beautiful architecture. It's just like you get there and you're like, wow. But also I feel like there's like a lightness that's there for me as well. Um,
Mhm.
that I'm a little sad that I'm missing, but I'll be there at the end of the year. We're just
Come
gonna
on.
say we're gonna speak into existence by the end of the year. Everything will be fine.
Amen.
Right.
I so for me, so we had some work things happening. I
Mm-hmm.
then had the flu. I not only did I have the flu, but then even before that, I lost my voice like 2 weeks before that.
Because you're an overachiever.
Um, with the flu, I also had an ear infection, which was amazing. Um, then like a week later, I was trying to, of course, get myself better because where am I just coming back from? Switzerland.
Switzerland.
So I was gone for a week and went to Switzerland.
Didn't want to come back.
Did not for sewing work. So
Um,
I'm telling people like I let me be let me let I need people to understand what testimony can look like.
yes.
You just allow yourself to be and be who you are and be a good
Mm-hmm.
person. And allow your gifts to make room for you. Allow
Oh,
God to blow your mind when it needs to. Like sometimes your dreams and thoughts of what is possible are not big enough.
that part.
So we just allowing. God to show and to open up doors and everything like that. And one of those was Switzerland. So I spent a week in Switzerland, tipped on over into Germany. Um,
Tiptoed over into Germany.
because literally, like, with talking to people, they say, "Oh yeah, this is my bike route or my run route in the mornings." They go from Switzerland to Constance, Germany,
Wow.
because it's literally like right there,
Yeah.
just that
Man,
run.
that's amazing. So
Um,
let's do a little debrief on each of our travel because I feel like that'll also lead into a little bit of our topic of discussion for today.
mhm.
Um and actually let's start with your debrief first because yours was just like you were out there. Now, let me preface this by saying that unless you are not following Julian, then you're probably going to be like, what is she talking about? But of course, everybody here is already following Julian Creates on Instagram, on TikTok, on all of these places. So you've probably already seen the pictures and the video of him. Y'all, my man was out there looking refreshed, looking like every day he had a fresh vitamin C facial and looking like he could breathe easy because the air was like, oh, let me see what your lungs need and let me meet that oxygen level. So tell us a little bit about like the foods, what you can share about what you did. Like, tell us, give us the good stuff.
So again, I was there for work. And you can put two and three together to
Hmm.
who's in Switzerland and why was I there?
Also
Um,
known to stay tuned for some fantastic things coming.
coming in June, coming in June, fun
Mhm.
things, fun
June for
things.
Julian.
Right. Look. Um, so there for that, this was my first time out of the country, so my first passport stamp, and I did get the official stamps in the passport, praise the Lord. Um, and I have never felt so at ease, relaxed, and safe in my life as a Black person.
Mm,
Like, I did not realize of course, there's a level of stress and a level of always having to be on and cautious and stuff like that that we face. That
mhm.
it's just kind of background noise. We don't fully think about it until you go someplace else where it's not there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this? I've never like been able to relax and breathe so deep in my life and just feel there's a level of emotional safety that I felt
Mm,
that you normally do not feel. Like I've never felt like that in America.
wow.
And I'm still processing that as I'm holding on to the feeling of it. As I'm coming back in and some of the life stresses are
Mhm.
back. Um, so that is, yeah, trying to just process like, okay, so what was that? And how do I now deal with that?
Yeah.
Um, it's funny because a lot of people said, I'm surprised you came back. And I'm like, Chad, I am too.
It was me. I was the people who said it.
When I tell you multiple people have said it, including family.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was an amazing experience. I got to go to St. Gallen's, which has the textile museum, because for a long time Switzerland was known for their laces and for textile production. So to
Hmm.
see kind of like this trade center and how they are talking about fabric creation and stuff like that, and how fabric is part of our everyday lives and how does it play in what we see and stuff like that was fun and great. My favorite thing, of course, was the buildings and the history. I mean, when you're like literally walking through towns that have been around since the Middle Ages and are painted, like everything is muraled and frescoed, like historically.
Mm.
Some of these buildings from like the 1200s, um, the churches and the cathedrals. So if y'all did not know, of course, I love history. We talk about history all the time, but I
Hmm.
also love architecture. I have never been in a church that made me fully drop my jaw at the magnitude not only of its presence but of its history. We have old stuff here in America, yes, It ain't that old. It ain't this
Right.
old, and it is not this grand. Even like so I went to Constance Munster, which is not a cathedral because it does not have a bishop. Actually, it's interesting. There is a lot of like disbanding of bishops and stuff like that, but it's still like a Catholic church.
Yeah.
So I went there, and then I also went to St. Gall Cathedral or St. Gallen, the cathedral in St. Gallen's. Um, the cathedral in St. Gallen's is newer from the 1750s.
I
Um,
love the 1750s is considered newer.
it's new. It's new. But it also has a library attached from the 1750s, all decorated in Baroque architecture.
Oh my gosh.
So literally every single ceiling surface was painted with murals and cherubs and gold, and like to see a traditional Catholic church and how it's set up. So literally the church basically was cut in half at the rotunda or at the transept, like where it goes sideways.
Hmm.
Everything behind it, that's where like the choir, and that's like in traditional high church, all the mass and stuff happens behind. But people like it was just amazing to see that. But actually the church in Constance, which is I think has been around on that spot since like the 1200s, was even more amazing. Sadly, the front was they're doing renovations on the front, so I couldn't see like the facade of it. But inside, literally, that was the first church I went into, and I was like quiet, and just my mouth was just dropped to see a full Baroque altar, to see dates of like people buried in the floors in the 1700s,
Wow.
to see the murals and paintings, and to know that it has been renovated, and they because they have dates of the renovations. One of the renovations was they got rid of the wooden painted ceiling and put in like stone arches and stuff like that in the 1600s. So on the ceiling they say 1680, you have in different parts where they have done different renovations on the church. Um and
Man.
everything just towers above you, and you're looking around like what is this, and even the altar pieces and stuff like that in the smaller sections, or like in the small chapels on the side of the church and stuff like that. The organ in this place was I think from the 1500s. I was out, there were
1500.
murals on the walls that you could see, like some of them had been restored, some of them had not, and had
Yeah.
faded in color, but they were still from like the 1400s.
Wow.
um Absolutely, absolutely amazing. And I'm like, and I understand like this is how, especially at that time, you conveyed power, you conveyed prestige, you conveyed the awe of God. Um, and to see that in presence, I'm like, oh, I get it. And these are not even the huge, super big cathedrals.
Right. Wow.
So amazing. And then of course just walking through the town, like I went to Stein on Rhine, which literally it looks like it's a fairy tale city. Still with walls and stuff like that that were there for protection. I went to a restaurant called the Red Ox, which is a wine bar in Stein on Rhine. I think it's the oldest wine bar in Switzerland from the 1440s.
Dude, I feel like you were trying to get me to move out to Switzerland. Let's go. Let's just go. Let's pack our shit up and let's go.
Until you see the prices of some of this shit. And then you like, wait a minute, let me rethink that. Cost of living is expensive.
There's a drawback
One
to
of my
everything.
meals, I had a meal at the hotel. Now, no, my hotel, I stayed at the Fellbach Hotel. And it is like part of an old monastery, which has been around since the 1250s. Hmm. And then the restaurant is in the
Did you
older
say the
part,
1250s?
the 1250s. The 1250s. The restaurant that is part of the hotel is in the older part of the on the property. And first of all, the food was delicious. Everything that I ate there was delicious. I brought back candy from the grocery store, like grocery store chocolate, and no, everybody has just commented on how good it is because it's delicious and it's just grocery store chocolate. But for the amount of candy I bought almost like 60, $70 worth of candy. And that was for 3 bags.
Okay. Okay.
One meal for one night in American money was like $90 just for me. And I only had an entree and a dessert.
What's the price of eggs though?
Chad, I didn't even look. How about that? I'm like, look, but you better know them eggs was fresh. I had so like I had duck breast, I had Wiener Schnitzel out of veal, I had beef cheeks, I had
I
spaghetti
got beef
bolognese
cheeks
with
too. Just joking. Sorry.
look, spaghetti bolognese with wild boar.
Oh my goodness. Wild boar.
Everything was delicious.
I know it was.
Everything.
And I know it was so fresh too.
Fresh and rich and everything like that, which is an issue because y'all know we on special medications and my stomach said, I don't know what the hell you doing, but no, not
Your
today.
stomach said, "Oh, that shit was fun."
Yeah. Mhm. So one day I got taken out. I got my stomach cussed to be the clean out.
Mm-mm.
Uh, but it was worth it.
I
It was
know it
worth
was.
to where I'm like, I'm considering like, first of all, where am I going next? Because I need to now see more spaces and places. But then also, is that where I want to move?
You know,
Because
I would love to travel and do like the overseas frocktails as well.
yeah, yeah, I want to go to. I've been wanting to go to the dressmakers ball in the UK
Hmm.
forever. That would be an amazing, like, just an amazing feat to go to.
Let's
And maybe
talk offline and let's make some plans to go out there for that.
look, though that one sells out so quick, but that one or even Zach Pinson of Pinson Tailoring, he does a Regency ball in, is it Brighton? Is it Cornwall? One of the palaces, one of the Queen Victoria's palaces, and it's like one of the pleasure palaces. I would love to go to that, make full outfit. I want to go to Feast Gallant at the Versailles. Like I got places I want to go. But also I know that if this is how possible it is to feel where you live, I really do need to rethink where I'm living.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really opened
And
my
honestly, I feel like where you are, especially given everything that's kind of happening in this Cincinnati area, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, I'm really, really happy that you had an amazing trip. I feel like it was not just, well deserved, right? Because we all deserve to have those trips, but I think that it was really needed for you. And of
Mhm.
course, I said this to you when we were chatting, but I feel like this is going to be what catapults you forward and, and has you take, these adventures and, leaving behind these, leaving behind kind of like what is kind of chaining you here and what I feel like is actually when I think about it, it's almost like a ball and chain, right? When we think about marriage in the negative way, not in the positive way, but like it's almost like you have this ball and chain that's like holding you back. And I feel like this was like that first experience for you that's like, I think I'm gonna go ahead and find the key and release myself. And because it's different from having it's there is a huge difference between a ball and chain and an anchor, right? Like I feel like my family anchors me to where I am, but I love it because I love returning home. Whereas
Mhm.
I feel like for you it's very much so an obligation as opposed to a desire to
Mhm.
come back here and to be in a quote unquote stable home, quote unquote stable environment, right? And
Mhm.
I personally, as of course, a lover of Julian, am ready to see you shake these things up and to really find yourself because um, seeing the refreshment on your face as you traveled was like I felt it myself. You know what I mean? Like I felt the energy shift in you and it felt so good to see you just like light, you know?
I
So
had not
yeah.
felt that in a long time.
Yeah.
But also had not felt that it was a reminder that I'm deserving of good things.
That part.
That I am worthy of good things.
Yes.
That I am doing good.
Yes.
Um, because sometimes you always feel like you're running or that you're not like I feel or let me be real about it. I'm feeling like I'm running and not achieving or I'm behind the eight ball, things are like
Mhm.
that I'm a slacker, that I'm a in many ways a failure. And when records and evidence show that that is not the case and that is not the truth. And sometimes you need to have windows open so that you can see that that thought process is not a true thought process.
Right.
That is not the case. Um, so that you can reframe. So,
Yeah.
definitely it got me thinking. It got me thinking.
Yeah.
So
Well, very, very happy for you. Very happy that you had a positive travel experience because mine wasn't that.
well, Jesus. So
Yeah.
what went down?
Um, and I feel like my recap for So Expo is going to be, of course, not the greatest,
Mhm.
Kicking off with the positive, of course, was the fact that like So Expo is like it turns into like a girls' trip for me because I get a chance to see Lilia. Last year, I traveled with Lilia and Trisha from Creative Costume Academy. This year, I was able to travel with Lilia and Stephanie Canada, as well as Tina, who works with Stephanie. And time with them, fantastic.
Yeah,
Had the best time because, um, and I hate it when people are like, oh, people always make everything about race, but when you're a black woman, right, and you're a double minority, it very much so is about race and gender. And, that's how we navigate the world, right?
right.
And I'm always very particular about who I travel with because, there are those reports that'll be like, oh, this black woman was hanging out with her white friends and she ended up dead. And your girl's not
You're
trying to,
missing. Or yes, yes.
that's not gonna be my testimony. Okay.
Hmm.
But I always feel very safe with Lilia, very safe with Stephanie. And so that is a positive. And it got a chance to meet Tina, who is fucking fantastic. She's wonderful. She is hilarious. And it was great. But it
Also, for
was,
y'all, definitely go check out. So, if y'all did not know Stephanie and stuff like that, they friends of the pod. Like they're friends of
yes,
ours. Like we know them in real life people.
yes.
So one of the things, especially if you're interested in vintage patterns and vintage fabrics and stuff like that,
Hmm.
definitely go check out Backroom Finds. She has still patterns that were for sale on the Expo that she has re-uploaded on her website. So definitely go to check out at backroomfinds.com.
Yes. Make sure that you are not just getting the patterns, but also buying those fabrics as well.
Yes, yes.
She's
And that's
legit a
unsponssored. We
fantastic
just like
person.
her. So
We do, and it's not even just like her, but she's a person who walks the walk. She walks her
absolutely.
talk, right? She says
Absolutely.
she's supportive, and she's going to do what she can. And as she rises, she's taking people with her.
Mhm.
And as someone who I think of myself as that type of person as well. It's really nice to encounter someone else who is legit like that too. Very
Mhm.
refreshing, very affirming, right? Because I don't ever want to change who I am as a person simply because people take advantage of it. I
That
just want to
part.
surround myself with the people who are like me.
Hmm.
So that was fantastic, but our troubles definitely started the morning that I left because I got the text message saying that my kits were going to be delayed. And because So Expo does not provide us with like a general shipping or anything like that, wherever we end up like staying while we're out there is where we have to ship to. And because they don't provide us with like an area or to stay in or a list of hotels or a list of close Airbnbs or Verbos or whatever, we are literally on our own um to find that. And so I got notification and I had ordered my PDF for my printers for my kits from pdfplotting.com. And this is not a negative review on them because they are fantastic. They shipped it out so that I would receive it the same day that I landed so that everything would be fine. But, weather is going to weather. And there was a storm that was in Portland, Oregon that delayed my shipping.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing because I spent 5 hours on a flight trying to figure out what I was going to do about those patterns when I arrived. And ultimately, I had to, it cost me a lot of money. Out of
Hmm.
pocket, it was a lot of money. I literally just finished paying invoices for kits and things like that. Cost wise, it was a lot of money. Um, and I don't think that attendees realize that because everyone is complaining about the cost of kits without understanding that we physically cut, prepare, pack, ship, transport, do all of that for these kits, and we deserve to be paid for it, right?
Absolutely.
Um, the people the people who I met, one of my favorite things, of course, is going to be the people. Like there's a young girl, her name is Jade, and I mentioned her in my YouTube video as well. But she's been going out there to Expo as long as I have been. And so it's been nice to kind of see her grow up because
Mm.
this was my third year. So I've been, watching her since she was a kid, and she's this beautiful girl. So she's like makes an impact, especially because they've been coming to my classes since my first class out there.
Hmm.
So seeing some of my return students come back, fantastic. Seeing some of the same people, really great. What wasn't great is watching people walk around with MAGA hats on because that made me feel incredibly unsafe, especially because I was the only Black teacher that was out there. So as
Mm.
the only Black teacher that was out there, and possibly one of like 50 Black attendees for the entire expo. It was not fun to see that. Nor was it fun to walk around the expo floor because there was a marked difference in how I was treated versus how Lilia was treated. And things like that don't feel good, especially when, you typically, when you talk about things like this, it's like, oh, you always have to make it about race, right? And it is about race because why
It
else?
is. That's our lives.
And Lilia, on her own accord, she's a master's student, and she is literally, becoming degreed in this fashion and sewing industry. So she's doing really big and amazing things. Um, when we go out to Expo, though, normally I have the most amount of classes, right? Normally, I have the most amount of sold out classes.
Hmm.
I teach locally at a studio where I have the opportunity to introduce different fabrics, different threads, different materials to customers, right?
Hmm.
Who literally every class I'm asked, oh, well, what are your favorite threads? Where do you get your needles from? What do you get? You know what I mean? So I have the opportunity and I feel like, and I spent money. Like I bought things like I went to Sassafras, who was out there. I bought all of these vinyls that I actually already made into a bag, so I'm not out there only looking to network for the purpose of influencing, but I have a podcast. I have a budding YouTube channel. I'm growing on all social media outlets. If I were a brand, I would absolutely want to network with me, right? Absolutely. On top of the fact that I'm fucking fantastic, I'm hilarious and really smart. That is not how I was received, though, and I didn't like that. So I made the decision that I will likely not be going back out to So Expo again, simply because So Expo does not make it easy. They, in fact, make it harder for me. And the fact that my auto-inflammatory disease is still flaring because of my stress levels from being out there tells me that it's simply not good for me. And I'm like, do
Right.
I like the little bit of money that I earn? Yes. Do I like being able to say, yeah, I fly cross country to teach? I do. But also, we have an expo we have the original sewing and quilting expo here in Atlanta, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
just transfer my teaching to local because I simply cannot put up with that. And then the feedback forms that people did come back, and of course, I understand that not everybody fills out feedback forms, but if all we hear is negative feedback, so that tells me that I'm not appreciated, and this is stressful for me. I can keep my behind at home and not miss out on the things that are ongoing with my kids because I am someone who loves being a mom. I genuinely
Mhm.
enjoy my children. I like them a lot. I love them. And I say like and love very separate because sometimes as a parent, we only love our kids. You know what I'm saying? We don't necessarily like these people, but I genuinely
Mhm.
like these people that I have created. I love being involved with their lives. They love having me involved in their lives. And for as long as,
Mhm.
that is it, I like being here. So when I travel for these things, I don't think that people realize that I'm missing out on track meets. I'm missing out on art shows. I'm missing out on soccer things. I'm missing out on all of this. And uh, it's not those feedback
Right.
forms were not reflected, in that. I had someone tell me that I was a less than dynamic instructor, which could not be furthest from the truth because one thing about me, I am dynamic. That is something that I do know about myself. And so a lot of it just felt like it was very like nasty,
Mhm.
and so I just am not going to surround myself. But I did come back and then I went to I helped out, of course, my Bernina dealer because I'm both a Bernina as well as a Burnett ambassador. So I helped them out at the OSQE, so Original Sewing and Quilting Expo that was here in Duluth, Georgia. And that was a time we just got a new territory sales manager for Bernina, and she is, listen, when I tell you that I was so geeked at meeting her and talking to her,
Hmm.
um, she's just a wealth of knowledge. She's also a professor and she teaches textile design. So she's like, I was just wowed and I was so excited to meet her and to talk to her and I feel like that was like also that further confirmation that I should be going into a higher level of teaching as well because like you just get those signs, right?
Mhm.
And it was so cool to talk to her, but it was also really great to be like in the Atlanta area because this is where my people are. So like I'd had people from our studio Top Stitch that were there and that came by and gave me great hugs and it was really fun and I loved that. Um and then of course, Julian and I have both been featured on a virtual expo, which is
Mhm.
currently happening. I think it's wrapping up, but the
I think tomorrow, because tonight, actually, well, by the time y'all hear it, it done happened. But we're recording this on Thursday, and I speak tonight for the virtual
okay.
expo.
Yeah. Um, but that begs the question of are sewing expos worth it? Like, should you be attending sewing expos?
So here's my thought process.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is a place for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do I think that they have fully evolved to match where new sewers are coming in at and what new sewers look like? Not all the time.
Mm.
I'll say that. Because a lot of times they are still expo and not cons, and most people are more now going to cons, which has a different
Right.
flair,
Yeah.
different vibe. So I think that is kind of where that disconnect is. And I think old school versus new school, like people trying to get people into where that is going, it takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Um, but especially if you're looking for a machine, that's a perfect place to try out all the different ones.
Mm-hmm.
If you're wanting to learn new things or meet, like just to see people who sew in your area, that's a good way to go and just to find different places and different things like that. If there are certain fabrics or notions that you want that you know that you can't find in your area, that's a good place to go for those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it can be intimidating. It might be good to bring some friends with you, bring a friend or so like that
Yeah.
to take a class or to walk around. Because, again, and this is me as a black guy in some of these spaces. Usually I'm the only one a lot of times. And, as I'm walking around, even to some of these vendors, they looking at me like I'm crazy, like, why are you here?
I don't even
Or
understand why, because you were the Julian Creates.
child, look, again, I have been on main stages at these expos. So I work at our original Sewing and Quilt Expo and stuff like that, and have done so for years. Even before I was Julian Creates, I was a volunteer at these events, and making my shirts and different things like that. And I'm always wearing something sewing related. And I might bring my mom with me, and they will talk to her and not to me. Like, oh, your son brought you here. He's just walking around with you, and they're like, and she has to tell, oh no, I don't do this. He
Mom
does.
said, no, I don't actually sew. I was just picking I was picking out stuff for him to make for me.
Exactly. Exactly. Or I'm looking at machines and they're like, oh, well, this one, I'm like, I know what this is. I might actually own it.
Right. It's so funny to me because like I feel like both of us have this I feel like in the world, in the sewing world,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
You're the double negative. Or not the double negative, but you're the double minority.
Hmm. Oh yeah. I'm playing in all the intersections.
I'm like I'm like a double minority in the sense of being plus size and black. But I
Hmm.
am a woman, so they probably they expected me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas you were just like, they're like, this black man, I mean, what's he doing? What's he do
Why
you
is
know
he
what a
here?
needle is?
Right.
Can you sew
Right.
a button on?
And they
Yeah,
looking at crazy.
yeah,
So, but then also too, people get excited when they see me at these spaces and
yeah.
places. Because I see people that I know or they know me from online, they know me from know me patterns and different things like that.
Mhm.
Um, so, but that's in a lot of places I go, a
Yeah.
lot of stores that I go to. Um, it is what it is. It's like in many ways, I've gone to predominantly schools where I was usually one of the few minorities in many aspects. I work in a field where I'm a lot of times a minority,
Hmm.
as a man and as a black person. So I'm not worried about it. I'm used to
Yeah.
this. But even in the space that you're supposed to find rest, peace, restoration, and stuff like that, it gets a little tiring.
Does get a
I
little
will say
tiring.
that.
Yeah.
But I think like it's one of those things like you go to these spaces and stuff like that. You learn about things, but then you also know that you have the power and ability to create your own spaces,
Yes.
both in person and online.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I I didn't understand the impact of sewing expos, honestly. Like when I first
hmm.
went out to the first Sew Expo for the first time, I was like, shop around for what? Because I definitely am an online order.
Hmm.
But with, of course, Joanne's closing, I do actually feel like sewing expos are more important to attend now than ever, right? And
Hmm.
the reason why I say that is because so many people are just like, oh man, I don't know how fabric feels, or I don't know where to get thread from, or I don't know what the difference. Like when I was teaching last weekend, somebody was like, I didn't know that Coates and Clark was terrible. And I was like, girl, she was like, oh, and then I heard Guterman was back. I was like, well, Guterman, that it's a step up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
depending upon what machine you're sewing with, it could also be problematic. And depending upon what thread fiber you're using. And I started
Hmm.
talking about these things, and she was like, how was I supposed to know all this? And I feel like when we go to these sewing expos, like when I was out at Sew Expo, I got a chance to meet up with Wonderfil.
Hmm.
And I hadn't heard about Wonderfil because, of course, as a Bernina user, we know Metler. And then
Yeah.
also I had a collection with Orifil. So I know Metler and Orifil, obviously, right? But those are also the two threads that are essentially really well stocked at my Bernina dealer.
Right.
But when I went out and I got a chance to meet with Wonderfil, in fact, I'm working on becoming an educator with them because we know the impacts of thread on our projects, but not enough people know the impact of thread on their projects, right? And how they
Hmm.
can not necessarily make or break, but they can really add or subtract from, right? Um, so I think in that sense, like we have that opportunity to meet and ask questions and touch and feel, especially in such an area that we are very touch and feel oriented, right? I also love that we can shop around with different fabric places. Like I went and I met and this was like one of the my favorite places to stop by as far as a booth when I was out at Sew Expo, but I went and I got a whole kit to make Bear some like collars and leashes. And but they had
Hmm.
everything I needed. So I didn't have to look around and I didn't have to buy in bulk. I could just buy what I needed.
Right.
But also made a connection so that when I need more, I know exactly where to go. So I think that in that sense, these sewing expos are fantastic as well as learning, right? Because we know that Joanne stopped essentially teaching and using their classrooms for a really long time. But when you come to a class and the entire kit is provided and you're able to ask the questions about fiber content, about other suggested fabrics, ask the questions about putting together and construction techniques and that sort of thing,
Hmm.
that I feel like is definitely something that is helpful. Like I think that that is really really great. And like even though online we can talk to and speak to all of the things that we do, but even in that sense, like people don't know, right? Like I
Right.
posted about, and I did a sew along. Actually, I have the bralette on. Y'all, this bralette is fantastic. But I did the sew along for the bralette when I was out at Sew Expo. They didn't finish the class, and I was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll put together a sew along for you. And I came back and I put that sew along together, and people didn't know that I made my own bras and panties for like years now because I just haven't, like, I don't talk about it, right? Because
Hmm.
I think that people primarily see me as someone who talks about projector sewing and just plus size sewing in general, but more garment wear versus lingerie. But
Hmm.
like, I've been getting my advent calendars from bra builders. Like, I got a lot of stuff. You know, your girl's been over here making, especially because, like, you know, Aurora, she got a big old booty. So I got to make sure she got panties that cover all that junk in
Look,
the trunk. You feel me?
and not leaving her out here trying to dig for gold as she walking
Okay.
down the hallway because we don't do that.
We don't do that. We don't do that.
I'm letting y'all know that now. We don't do that,
We're not
and I
doing
will
no
judge
rainbow.
you.
Okay.
'Cause we don't. We will watch, and I will judge. As I was in the airport, and this man, when I tell you, I'm like, you need to go wash, because there
Oh,
is no reason that you are digging that far up your ass, like handful. And he's in his 50s, just handful with some jeans on. I'm like, you need to go wash or wipe, because something ain't right. We
I was gonna
judge.
take us down a rabbit hole, but I'm not gonna do it today.
We judge. I
We're
judge
not
that.
digressing too far.
And y'all, I'm flab my flabbers are gasted. But yes, but yeah, I mean, we have the ability to make our draws and make them fit well, and make them comfortable, so that we ain't there's no need for adjustments and stuff like that. We go about our business, so and we do what we got to do.
I know that's right.
Hmm.
I know that's right.
Hmm.
Um, so in addition to, of course, our So Expo chat
Hmm.
or our Expo discussion, Julian is gonna go ahead and talk about his challenge that has started.
Yes. So on what, the 25th, so March 25th, I announced the So Tailored for You Challenge of 2025. This goes along with the Met Gala and its Black Dandyism theme. The dress code is tailored for you. So for this, from now until that first Monday in May, um,
Hmm.
you want to share something that you have made that is upscaled. And it could be whatever you
Hmm.
make that is upscaled. And it shows, not only could be tailored to your body or something like that, but also tailored to your personality. Because we know dandyism is not
Hmm.
just about what you look like, it also is about the message that is conveyed by what you look like.
Yes.
There's a political message in everything,
Come
in our
on,
garments, in
come
our
on.
everything like that. So what is what you make, you're sewing as not only as a self-care and stuff like that, but also
Mhm.
as an act of resistance in many cases. Because right now we know that joy is a political act. Being
Joy is a
joyful
political act.
is an act of political resistance right now. So how are you showing that in an upscale make? So that could be adding handmade details to a quilt, an apron, a hat, a bag.
Hmm.
That could be doing something very colorful or anything like that. For me, what am I doing? I am making my outfit for Atlanta Frocktails.
Ooh, ooh.
And because it is Alice in Atlanta land,
Alice in Atlanta land.
Of course, I have to harken back to some of the dandies of our time. So I'm thinking very much Dapper Dan. I'm thinking very much um Logomania. I'm thinking very much um gotta put it on like I'm going to church type of
Yeah.
thing.
What the
I'm
kids be
thinking,
saying now, they be saying PTSO, put that shit on.
look, look. So when I tell you just one of the fabrics I bought had to buy almost $400. No, it was 200 something, 200 something dollars worth of fabric just for one. But we commit to the look. And this week I definitely will be sharing some inspirations and I will be taking you out through the process because again, I got a month to make three pieces. Well, technically four. Mhm.
hmm
And right now
hmm
we're waiting on fabrics. So y'all pray for me as I pray for y'all.
Yes. So, which also leads us to, of course, right now, Atlanta Frocktails is having a little challenge as well,
Mhm.
which is to build out your mood board. And because this theme, and I really do feel like this theme, as far as Atlanta, Alice in Atlanta Land, is really it's really about the whimsy. It's really
Mhm.
about finding your inner whimsy and allowing that to take over, which I do feel like is so aligned with this tailored for you look, right? Because
Mhm.
this is definitely something that is very personal for you, very personal, but also about finding your joy, right? About
Mhm.
dressing joyfully, about feeling good in what you're wearing. So, for me, like I have my vein issues, so even though I'm going to be wearing, my cute little custom couture because I know I'm going to be on my feet all day, what do we have to have on? We're going to have on them compression socks. So this look is going to be tailored to me and my
Mhm.
needs. And one of the other things that I love about, of course, sewing and being whimsical is being creative with how we have to take care of ourselves, right? So, for
Mhm.
example, because it's important to me that I do have compression socks on just for my health, that doesn't mean that I have to sacrifice my look for my health. How do we include that? And how do we really tailor that, a la Julian's challenge, to what you need personally? So,
Mhm.
if you are listening and you have not heard, Atlanta Frocktails again is May 3rd. It is coming up. It is going to be held at Top Stitch Studios Atlanta. And we are looking for a good time. We are finalizing our weekend plans so that if you are interested in doing more than just coming to Frocktails, if you're trying to hang out, we're going to have some fun things for us to do, which also may include a class from Stephanie Canada. So, if you are looking to kind of connect and not just for an evening, make sure that you have signed up for our newsletter so that way you can be in the know for whenever we send out our communications about it. But super
Mhm.
excited because we are already more than halfway sold out of our tickets. So, if you're trying to be here, you know what I mean, get in. That's all I can say. Like,
And it's gonna be a fun time. I think especially we have been last year we used that space as a place for like the pre-party,
mhm,
pre-meet stuff like that. People able to come and if you it's okay, come and if you need to work on your outfit if it
yep.
ain't fully done, it is all right.
And we
It's
will
all
be doing
right.
the same thing. And you know
Yeah.
what? And so just a big shout out to Anna,
Hmm.
um, because Anna came to Atlanta Frocktails last year. And if you're like Anna who, Anna J Makes,
Hmm.
so she came last year and she was like, she came to the Friday evening event that we had, which we'll be doing again. That was just
Hmm.
kind of like a meet and greet and kind of meet and find your buddy, like especially if you
Hmm.
came by yourself, and she did come by herself. And she was a little nervous, but of course, Will was here. And
Hmm.
one thing about Will, one of the things that I love about Will is also one of the
Let's.
things that I love about me is we're gonna collect some people.
You
Okay.
sure
We're
enough
gonna
will.
collect some people and we're gonna make you feel right at home with us, right? And
Hmm.
so Will collected her. And when I tell you, watching her come out of her shell, not just like sewing wise, but also how she has been showing up and out,
Hmm.
baby. Listen, anyway, that is not because of Atlanta Fractals, but that is just simply an example of how when you meet your people, that they can pull you up out of that shell that you had built around yourself. And that is something that we need. If you can hear anything in my background, my apologies, because you all's favorite puppy is currently chasing his fur sisters around and they do not like it. So some
Oh,
skippity paps are probably being delivered as we speak.
come
Uh,
on with us. He gonna
listen,
learn with a skippity pap.
she is the recipient of plentiful skippity paps because Milkshake does not play. Okay.
See? Hilarious.
But yeah, like I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to all of this. I just finished emailing with the caterer, um, talking about themed foods and stuff
Come
like
on,
that.
fool. Come on,
Yeah,
fool.
because listen, one thing about me is we not
You gonna
about to
feed
leave an
us.
event hungry. Okay.
You gonna feed us. And we
Yeah.
appreciate.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
appreciate it every time.
And
Mm-hmm.
then I still am navigating the drink situation because, I don't really drink. I'm not
hmm
100% sober, but I have a glass of wine like maybe 4 times a year. Um, but last year I did not like that we didn't have water. Yeah,
mm
when I tell you that your girl was colored surprised that we didn't have water and that the venue did not provide us with water and that I had to Instacart water to the venue.
You did.
That's okay because we prepared this year. We're ready this year. It's going to be fine.
And and yes, and I think even soda was expensive, like
Yeah.
with the
So
2 liter in the back charging me $4 for a soda. But we're gonna work it out.
we are
We're
going
gonna
to
work
work it
it
out.
out. It'll
We
be all
are.
right. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna be cute. Am I doing an outfit change this year? I don't think so. But my outfit is always convertible.
We love a convertible outfit.
So I so because it is Atlanta and a three-piece suit all night is a lot for me. So it will
Yeah.
be it will be giving something.
Yes. My look will definitely be
Something.
tailor made for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I still
Mm-hmm.
haven't decided on it. I feel like I'm trying to look, I almost feel like I'm trying to give a little bit of a play on Alice. You know what I'm saying? Now I feel like I need to be in my,
Main character energy. Yes. You the host.
oh, maybe I should be in, you know what? It's fine. We'll continue talking offline about what I'm gonna wear then.
Uh-huh. 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 Um, yes, because I got shoes ordered, I
Hmm.
got fabrics ordered, I got one pattern ordered that I had to call her and gripe about because it's no vest pattern should be 60 pages
Yeah, here we are.
PDF. But so I'm still looking for the right pants. I think I have the jacket pattern that I want to use. Um, and it comes with a pair of
I
pants. I
almost
might
want
just
you
do
to
that.
do cause but whatever, don't judge me because you know what I'm about to bring up. But I really feel like you should do those pants from, you know how you did the pink top? What was
The
that?
Know Me pattern, my Know Me 2018 pants.
I think so.
But I did those last year for Chicago. That's why I
Oh.
did. So I did those last year for Chicago. I did the tapered ones.
Hmm.
And I could do the wide leg ones.
Yeah.
Um, but then I would need to there's some other things that I would need to change to make that work. Honestly, um, I do have a pattern. It's from the 20s that I think I might do.
Okay.
So from sewing vintage menswear. It's a book that is still available online. It comes in American, it like comes in a English version and a German version
Okay.
that I have been wanting to use, and it's like authentic. So it comes up high-waisted, comes with some different pocket options. It does come with a vest. And with this vest, even though because it is a higher rise vest, um, it will still give me what I want with the shirt, maybe show a little less skin, but it will still be fun because again, we might be using vintage patterns, but the colors are not.
Them colors are giving modern. Them colors are giving cutting edge. Them colors are giving
A
show up and
lot.
show out
The colors are
today.
giving a lot, y'all, a lot. So yeah, so trying to figure out those pieces and like how those kind of will what like where those things will play is where I'm at now.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
We love to
Um,
see it.
and then with the shoes. So the shoes I ordered a pair of because I wanted a little pump. So we ordered a pair of men's Cuban heels or something for a little pump. We'll see what those are like when they come because they got wherever they're coming from. So hopefully they come in time. How about that?
Ah, I'm so excited.
And then I think I know what glasses I'm wearing because I think I have a pair of glasses that pulls in a lot of the colors.
I gotta be
While
honest,
still,
I kind of want you to wear either the rhinestone or don't you have a pearl version?
I don't have no, and
Thing
some
is,
of the
I
rhinestone
want you to
ones
be wearing the pearl, some
I
pearl.
got I got rid of some glasses to clear out for new glasses. And so I have a one of these smaller that I said was more for like an art gallery owner because I'm giving more high end than my pro glasses will give, or even the rhinestone glasses will give.
Okay. Okay. Subscribed
Mhm.
fully.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm.
So I think I know which glasses I'm going to wear, I think. But I change it up. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, man, this has been a fantastic catch up.
Yes, and y'all, again, we ask for grace and life lived, but we ain't going nowhere. We just
Ever.
might, we just might not be here consistently all the time, all the time, all the time. But
Hmm.
luckily, so we recorded this today. Um, and y'all will see what we look like sitting here, hopefully.
You
Y'all see a little
will.
snippet.
Make sure that you guys look for the Audacity podcast on YouTube. We have a channel. This will be our first video that is up. Um, because Aronica was fooling around with these settings, and I was like, "Oh, this shit is cute," and so we could just put this right up on YouTube.
There we go. So yeah, y'all. What I will say to y'all, what will I would encourage y'all to do, again, to be yourself, again, to be the weird person that you've always wanted to be listen to the young self in you that
Mm,
was scared to try things. You never know what that will lead to. You never know what doors it will open. Sometimes it is that thing that is the piece that is missing from what you're trying to break into. So be willing to be weird, be willing to not go with the status quo and the norm. Be willing to wear all the colors. Be willing to be bright. Be willing to be bold, especially now more than ever. We
mm,
need that. We need to see it in the world as they're trying to take it away.
mhm.
Now more than ever, you need to fight like hell to be yourself. And until next time, y'all, stay audacious. Now more than ever, y'all better stay fucking audacious. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.
Bye.